Hey Adelina, thank you so much for joining today. My question for you is for founders who only want qualified B2B traffic. How do they structure and filter Google Ads to avoid B2C, bots, and low quality clicks that just waste sales teams a lot of time?
So when it comes to B2B leads, especially the qualified leads through Google Ads, it's really important how you research your audience and also what do you exclude. And I'm just gonna basically follow you through my structure, how I usually do it. So what I do is it's basically three pillars. It's research first, so I try to understand the buyer's intent and the local context. I also look to build a campaign structure that filters out the wrong traffic. So using a lot of negative keywords. I use audience segmentation and then I basically rigorously control the quality. So it's really all about like, are we ready for the conversion based bidding? Like, what are the search terms? Like, how is the search term report doing? So it's really just about like who you target, who you exclude. And those are the two main points that you have to keep in mind when you're doing Google Ads for B2B. So when we come to the research first idea, I like to use Google Keyword Planner and SEMrush, and that basically shows me the B2B keywords with high intent, like enterprise CRM solution. But what it also shows me are the potential traps, like B2C traps, cheap CRM, free CRM, student CRM, so that basically those I already copy and I know like those are going to belong in the negative list. And it also shows the terminology variations because one time there was a coffee client, like a coffee enterprise, who wanted to export things basically to the local supermarkets, offices, bases, and we were launching an international campaign. So everywhere in Germany, we use things like coffee capsules. So when we launched the UK campaign, I looked up the research and I realized there is no search volume to coffee capsules. So I started looking how do British people name those, and apparently it's coffee pods. So just one of those mistakes was easily avoided by doing enough research.
Oh,
The
that's super interesting. Yeah.
really like it's basically all about the language and all about how like there is like this linguistic mismatch or context mismatch, and in B2B it happens more often than not because it's very specific, like you're very specific to the keywords, and when you're looking up those keywords, the direct translations across continents, across cultures, because usually like the companies I work with, a lot of them are international. So a lot of the spending of the time I do is actually the linguistic mismatch and killing that ideas of knowing like, hey, this is going to be exactly the keyword people are going to look for, and also cutting out all the B2C crap.
Well,
Because
that's a super good hint, especially like if a company wants to go abroad, yeah, right, to another country and like expand basically. That's really important. Yeah. So thank you so much already for that hint.
yeah, then basically once you're done with the research, you already have some B2C notes of like what are you going to kill. The building the campaign structure, like first of all you want to prepare the negative keywords list, because as you saved them before, the B2C terms like free, cheap, retail, and DIY I kill immediately, unless it's like a job thing, jobs, courses, how to, I also kill, because that just creates a lot of like student or B2C traffic. And also everything for like students or consumers, like all of the non-buyer B2C stuff, like try it, do it yourself, something, basically kill all of those keywords immediately and upload it into the negative list so that you can just like add it with one click and you don't have to waste any more time on those things because you know you're going to exclude them. Then there is a way of using exact match and phrase match to basically tightly theme your ad groups and make sure that you're not using broad match unless your conversion bidding is really asking. I think but it's very rare that you really need the broad match. The other things is the separate campaigns by intent and also by product. So for instance, if you're high intent, like clear conversion, that's one campaign. If it's just a general awareness video, it's a different campaign. Then localization, languages, offers, budgets. So for instance, there are countries that are generally cheaper to bid for instance, like southern countries. They tend to be a bit more cheap than north in Europe. So if you want to bid somewhere in Germany, Norway, the biddings are going to be high in a lot of B2B areas. It depends, it always has to be researched first, but also you cannot allocate in a lot of times the same budget to, for instance, Italy and to Sweden. just because one of them actually might be more expensive. So again, like look at your research and make sure like your budgeting is making sense. And once you've known all that, once you've done all that, just make sure that your campaigns really rely on intent. Then they rely on like what product are you doing, so that you're also not mixing product and landing pages, that your offer is very, very clear. And then when it comes to really optimizing the campaign, write in your copy like for enterprise, B2B solution, get your custom pricing. So make sure that when like people are reading your ad, they're really seeing like, hey, this is B2B, like I cannot click it as a B2C user. And that your landing page has the same, because once your landing page and your ad are more or less the same, it really shows the algorithm, hey, like you're selling something and you're really selling something B2B. So that drives the algorithm again way more into that direction.
I guess it's also like a pretty easy thing to do, right? Because I used to work for Bubble for business, and Bubble has like the B2C and B2B product. And it was super important that we identified, like with the copy we write, that it's a B2B product, right? So that's a really good point that you're making. What would be interesting to know is like, in your opinion, what's the most overlooked thing when it comes to improving lead quality?
I think like what I've seen so far is a lot of those traps of lead quality are basically people do a lot of awareness stage content, like for instance videos or something in regards to just general branding, and then they immediately do a search campaign with exact keyword search terms, but they overlook the consideration phase, the entire consideration phase. So producing content, for instance, talking a bit more in like case studies about how do you use your product, which industries could use your product, or how is your product different from competition, what's your ICP. So this is the content and these are the campaigns. For instance, this is where PMax is so great, because you can give the asset signals to the audiences and you can literally build a custom segment where people who are already considering competitor brands who have been on those websites can also see your videos or your display, like your stuff. As long as because PMax is a bit of a black box, so you just give it that signal, but I've seen a huge conversion uplift there because it's warmer than awareness, but they're not immediately the people who already know you and just look you up because they're too lazy to call the guy who they know from sales from your team. So that's basically like a very good awareness, like the very good stage of where you can produce more content, just score on Google, like run some campaigns. You can use the same content for LinkedIn and you would just get immediately a lot more out of that.
Okay, that's cool. Thank you so much. What's your take on like offline conversions when it comes to like identifying high quality leads versus maybe low quality leads or B2C leads in a B2B context? How important is that? Is that something you would set up immediately, or is it something that would follow along later on?
Do you mean like conversion, basically like Looker Studio's dashboard, like conversion testing, or what do you mean exactly?
More like offline conversions, that, for example, if you connect your CRM like HubSpot, so you can basically send the signal back to Google Ads and telling them like, oh, that was a really high qualified lead, this kind of offline conversions.
Oh, I love that, to be honest, because it depends like which countries. Again, like you have to always look at the like different DSGVO or like whichever data protection layer you're under, because some countries are way more chill with that. And I'm generally like I'm a big data protection fan, but I'm also a very big efficiency fan. So as long as it's legal and like you're fully compliant with the data, absolutely love doing it, because also like then Google really starts understanding and then it gives the audience signals to like, hey, this is the kind of people I want to see my campaigns. This is what I'm really ready to pay for. And it really works well with like the target CPA bidding, for instance. That's like if you're using target CPA, I feel like this HubSpot connection is a must. So once you are in this level, but you need to have a certain amount of conversions, because if it's like one lead per month, it's again a bit tricky because then the algorithm just sort of breaks. But if you're having like 5 to 10 a week and like 30 a month at least, then you're basically very good, because then it just keeps the ball rolling and then the algorithm really gets what it is that you're wanting.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I think that's a really good takeaway, that there must be enough conversions in order for the algorithm to really be able to optimize, right? And before that, it doesn't make sense to go too granular.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely agree.
Thank you so much, Adelina. There was a lot of really nice and really valuable insights in such a short time. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.